Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment for Rural Panel 3. We are a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including minor variances and consent to sever land. Our hearings are now in person at Ben Franklin Place, 101 Centrepoint Drive. We also enable remote participation by video conferencing for registered speakers. We are broadcasting on YouTube live, and the video will be archived and available for future viewing by the public. My name is Jocelyn Chandler. I'll be chairing today's hearing, and you can address me as chair or by my name. With me are a wide range of fellow panel members. This is a full panel today. We have Martin Vervoort, Heather McLean, Julianne Wright, Beth Henderson, and Gary Duncan. Sorry, there's so many of us today. The procedure for the hearing will be as follows. Listed on the agenda and screen are the applications we'll hear today. For efficiency, I'm going to reorder them. Panel members have reviewed the planning reports, submissions, any written submissions, and today we'll hear any oral submissions. As part of the public notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property before the hearing, and I understand that all the declarations have been submitted. Okay. The panel may ask for a brief presentation on the application, and we may follow that with questions for the applicant or city planning staff. We'll also give an opportunity for members of the public to speak, and finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make comments and reply. Please address your comments to me, starting with your name, your municipal address for the record. All presentations are limited to 5 minutes, any exceptions at my discretion. At the end of the hearing, the panel may make an oral decision, or we may reserve our decision, which means you won't hear it today. It won't be delivered today. In either case, within 10 days, the Committee of Adjustment will send the official written decision and reasons to all the participants and anyone else who has requested a copy. Okay, we do not have any minutes to address. Any new business? Okay. Are there any declarations of interest? None? Okay, let's go. So I'm going to reorder the applications as number 2, Malakoff Road, number 3, Norway Spruce, number 4, River Road, and then circle back around to number 1 on Martin. So the first 3 that I listed, we have reviewed these applications. We've received and considered all the comments. We don't have any concerns with these applications, so we don't need to go through, listening to the application being submitted. But I will ask if anybody has anything that they want to add. So for application number 2, that's 7063 Malakoff Road. If you have any additional information you want to add, now would be your opportunity. Otherwise, we've already reviewed the application and are comfortable with it.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee colleagues. My name is Steve Pence. I am the applicant for the owners of the property, or sorry, the agent on behalf of the owners of this property. And sorry, my camera's not working. It is showing to be on, but I assume you can hear me.
Yes, we can, Mr. Pence.
Okay. So yes, we've reviewed the plan report and agree with the proposed conditions. We have no further information to provide, but will remain here available for any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the panel? None? All right. In that case, all in favor of granting this severance? All right, granted. Thank you very much, Mr. Pence.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Okay, application number 3, that's 55 Norway Spruce. Was there anybody who needed to speak to this application? None? Okay. Any comments from the panel?
Madam Chair, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The agent is online.
Oh, I see. Hello.
Good morning. I'm just here to represent the owners for 54 Norway Spruce. As you know, we've applied for an application for consent as well as 2 minor variances to reduce the lot width requirement for each new lot that we've created.
Okay, so we have reviewed the application and we don't have anything specific to deal with unless you had anything you wanted to add.
No, we have nothing to add at this time.
Okay, panel, all in favor? All right, your application is granted.
Thank you very much.
Number 4, 2620A River Road. Hello there.
Good morning. I'm Arjun Soor. I'm the agent for the applicant for 2628 River Road.
Okay, did you have anything additional you wanted to add to our considerations?
I don't. We've reviewed the staff report, which has no concerns, as well as the revised conditions, and we have no issues with them. So we're good.
All right, thank you very much. Any comments from the panel? All right, all in favor? Okay, your application is granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Circling back to application number 1, 74 Martin.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning. Could you give us your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Kenneth Benoit. I'm the agent representing the applicant for this file.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have reviewed the application. I understand that you may have some comments to make with respect to the conditions that have been requested by the city.
Yes, specifically condition number 2 regarding the right-of-way protection.
Right?
It was mentioned since it's a corner lot, both on Colonel Murray and on Martin Street. On Colonel Murray, we're okay with it. However, on Martin Street, it's a rather unique context, and we do not believe that it would be appropriate to convey land. Although we appreciate the quick turnaround from staff regarding it, we believe that they've just presented us with the minimum standards that they can for this purpose, whereas there is policy showing that exceptions can be made in specific contexts like this regarding site constraints or other issues. Specifically, policy 2.1.1C of Schedule C16 of the official plan states these exceptions. Notably, number 2 is impact on valued resources. If the city was, in fact, to widen the road in this area, there would be very large mature trees at stake, measuring up to 87 centimeters in diameter. Significant trees would be impacted by any road widening here. And also it would create building setback incongruities, which is sub-policy 6, because no other lots on the street have had any land taken for right-of-way widening. The buildings all have very consistent setbacks that are roughly in line with the minimum required by the zoning bylaw, which is 6-meter front yard setback. The taking of land would be several meters, and it would push that back, and it would be out of character with the neighborhood to require that transfer of land. We believe that the widening of this street would realistically never happen. City is requesting it because it's technically a collector, but really the character of it is 1 lane each direction. There's a sidewalk on the north side. The south side of the street where the subject site is, there's enough land in the right of way should there be a cycle track or a sidewalk to be installed. Yeah, since there's very little development activity, we don't believe that enough land will be taken along the street to actually widen it at any point in the foreseeable future. And for those reasons, we request that the panel forego this condition.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Teef from the City of Ottawa, could you respond to this?
I'll just note that my colleague Erin has her hand up there. I believe they've been discussing this with the applicant.
Oh, okay. Hello, Ms. McConnell.
Hello, panel. I'm wondering if I can share my screen just to provide the committee with a bit of context about what we're looking for here.
Unfortunately, only the committee coordinator have the ability to share their screen. If you can email it to Sarah or Devat.
Perhaps the plans that were provided with the application, then there's a sketch that the applicant provided of the severed and retained parcels, just so I can.
I believe it's also in the presentation that I submitted.
Okay,
if that's easier to
there's a
pull up.
presentation that can be pulled up, please.
Just while that's being pulled up to describe the actual specifics of this road widening, the intention of the city for requesting these road widening isn't necessarily to widen asphalt. And so typically we're looking to reserve property for any future improvements to the right of way. So it can accommodate things like, it doesn't mean necessarily, taking down mature trees or widening the asphalt. It's typically for things to accommodate things within the right of way that may happen in the future, like sidewalks or trees or cycle tracks or things like that nature. And so the original request that staff had done was to request a 26 meter, there's a 26 meter right of way reserved for Martin Street right now. And the way that we incorporate that into the conditions is assume that the center line of the street is the halfway portion. And so the condition right now, as it stands, reads, we're requesting 13 meters from the center line. We've measured the road right now, Martin, and so it looks like it's about 16 meters wide right now. So assuming the center line is right in the middle, that means there's 8 meters right now between the center line and the property line as it exists today. We were requesting 13, which would be at an additional 5 meters. Again, it has to be confirmed via survey. So I take the applicant's point, and we had some discussion this morning with transportation that assuming all those facts are true, that the center line is in the middle, and that this requested road widening would be an additional 5 meters from the property line where it stands right now. So you can see on this drawing right now, the building envelope with the required setbacks is set back 6.5 meters from the current property line. That's the buildable envelope. What staff were discussing this morning is that, and this is just to clarify something that the applicant said, when we have those zoning required setbacks, there's a provision in our zoning bylaw that allows for them to be captured before the road widening is taken. So by virtue of taking a road widening, a requested road widening here, it doesn't necessarily mean that the required setbacks is further back. Which would be sort of a double penalty to the applicant. And so we have a provision that allows for us to take the road widening and then capture that required setback before the road widening was taken necessarily. So that wouldn't be impacted. And so what we were really looking at in terms of taking that road widening is what's reasonable to take from the existing property line that would still accommodate some of those future plans for the city right of way, but not impede on the developable envelope necessarily. And so staff, we had some discussion this morning, and we're willing to revise that condition from the 13 meter request to 11 meters from the center line. So that would be an additional 3 meters approximately from where the proposed property line lies right now, which means the building setback would still be 3.5 meters. And that in our minds would allow for the building to be developed on that developable parcel, still allow for permitted projections, things like porches and things that we want to see, but also allow for the city to protect for that road widening for future improvements to this Martin Street. And the reason we've sort of justified by saying 11 meters makes sense because of those reasons, but also because a 22 meter right-of-way protection along a road like this is the minimum that exists in our design guidelines, where you can accommodate things like reasonable sidewalk widths, tree preservation, and things like that. So initially, the applicant's correct. We'd asked for sort of the protection that's allocated in our official plan, but we think revising that condition to 11 meters would accommodate what we need and also not impede the developable area for this property. So that's what we'd like to put forward right now, is a change in that condition.
Thank you. I'm just going to repeat back to you what I understand. The city is suggesting that the condition be revised to an 11-meter, hold on here, let me go find this, an 11-meter road widening, which would encroach 3 meters onto the property. And there is a provision in the zoning bylaw that would allow the owner of the property to retain their 6-meter setback from the original property boundary so that it wouldn't change the setbacks required for development. How is that embodied in the sort of future development of the property?
Sorry, can you articulate a little bit about what you mean? We have the applicant's showing a developable envelope with those required setbacks, so that wouldn't change even with the requested road winding that we're seeking to take.
Okay.
Sorry. Excuse me. Sorry.
I'm just going to ask the panel if they want to get any further clarification from city staff at this time. Mr. Burbart?
So just to be clear, then the site triangle and the 10-meter road widening for Colonel Murray wouldn't change, is that correct? Just the 11-meter road widening on Martin that's being reduced
right.
from 13 to 11. And
That's
as I understand it, the zoning bylaw has a provision that when calculating your setback, it doesn't take into account the road widening the city's taking, so it's not going to affect the development envelopes here.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
It's simple.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Those were my questions. Thank you.
Anyone else on the panel with questions for Ms. O'Connell? Okay. Back to you.
Hi, Aaron. I was just curious about how this provision in the zoning bylaw works, because we're not actually proposing any development with this application. I was under the impression that this provision applied only if development was being proposed at the same time as land was being taken for road widening or corner side triangles, etc.
Ms. O'Connell?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I can read the provision exactly if it's helpful to the committee, just to indicate what it says.
Yes, please.
I don't believe there's any sort of time restriction on when the road widening is taken and when that provision comes into effect. So my submission would be if the applicant can provide sort of evidence that a road widening has been taken as part of any building permit application moving forward, then this provision would come into effect. But it's what's it called? Let's see. Section 4 of the zoning bylaw talks about expropriation and conveyance under the Planning Act. And subsection 1 says, for the purposes of determining compliance with the regulations of this bylaw, in the event of an expropriation or conveyance of a part of a lot by or to the City of Ottawa or any other authority having the power of expropriation, the lot or the building or the use, as the case may be, will not be found to be in conflict with the provisions of this bylaw by reason only of that expropriation or conveyance. And so we've dealt with this provision many times in the central area. And again, it's saying that where we wish to take a road widening, we're not going to double penalize the applicant by saying your setback now is from that land that we've taken.
And that's the existing or future lot, building, or use.
That's correct.
And that's expected to be carried forth in the zoning bylaw changes that are expected in 2025?
That's a good question. I have no reason to think otherwise, but I haven't reviewed the new zoning bylaw for this provision specifically. So I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Mr. Bluin, would you like to adjourn this at this time to have an opportunity to consult with your client and look further into confirming what future zoning bylaw might I recognize that this might be a difficult decision for you to make on the spot right now.
Yes, I believe it'd be in the best interest of my client to adjourn at this moment, discuss internally.
That's understandable to you, Mr. Teift and Ms. O'Connell? It'll give you some additional, I don't know if you could hear, there's a suggestion that we adjourn this to allow Mr. Bluen to consult with his client and perhaps check into what the 2025 updated zoning bylaw will look like and this provision and how it's implemented.
Yes, staff, we wouldn't have an objection to this adjournment. We were hoping that by modifying that condition to the 11 meters, it would work for everyone, but obviously no objection to adjournment.
Okay, the applicant?
Apologies. Thank you for your time, and we do appreciate the work done to modify the condition. In our experience of the interpretation of that provision has historically been different. So I think the adjournment is just so that we can confirm with you how that provision of the zoning bylaw vis-a-vis land taking would be addressed for the future developer of the property. So thank you, Madam Chair, and to staff.
Just to keep this tidy, could you give me your name and address for the record?
Of course.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Bria Aird. I'm a senior planner at FOTEN and the address is 420 O'Connor Street.
Thank you. Okay. Panel, any comments or concerns with an adjournment at this time? Would you like to suggest some dates? Well, first I'll ask from the city and the agent, how much time do you think? Is this a 2-week or 4-week?
Madam Chair, a 2-week.
Good, Mr. Teift. Good, Ms. O'Connell. Okay, staff?
Madam Chair, 2 weeks would be February 18th.
Okay. All right, so I propose we adjourn this application to February 18th to allow the agent and city to see if they can come to an agreement about this particular condition. All in favor? Good, thank you very much. And that is it, so we can close this hearing. Thank you.